The Parkinson's Study Group is delighted to be honoring our founders, Dr. Ira Shoulson and Dr. Stanley Fahn. Their legacy in the field of Parkinson's research has propelled the PSG to where it is today, with over 1,000 members at 160 sites across North America. Dr. Un Kang, a longtime PSG member, will be interviewing Dr. Fahn about the early days of the PSG, his fondest memories of Ira, and what his hopes are for the PSG's future and that of PD research.
I'm sorry I can't be with the PSG people together in person, but I had a stroke 2 years ago, and I'm still paralyzed on my left arm and leg. I cannot travel, but I'm so glad that the PSG arranged to let me videotape a little message to my fellow colleagues in the PSG. Happy 25th anniversary, whatever number this is. I still remember the day it started. Ira Shoulson and I were sitting next to each other at a long table in a conference room at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. Both of us were members of an NIH site visit team. Ira's a very interesting person. He came from a long line of rabbis, and his family expected him to become a rabbi also. But Ira became interested in medicine as a child and as a youth, and he followed his dream. He went to medical school to become a doctor. And that was a very courageous thing to do in a Jewish family of rabbis, to break the tradition, break the mold, and go on your own way. So that's the kind of person Ira was.
Ira Shoulson instilled in PSG a spirit and a roadmap of research collaboration, encouraging data mining of all PSG trials to ensure that the enormous effort of study participants and investigators alike would continue to benefit patients, regardless of how a trial's primary results turned out.
The University of Rochester Medicine Department had a lot of clinical trialists working with similar types of people from other universities. So Ira thought we could do that in Parkinson's disease. And when I joined him, and I said, that's a good idea, let's do that. And so that's how things started. Ira, again, was the creative force, and I was really assisting him. So what we did is we sat down with each other and put a list of names together of people we thought around the country who could study in clinical trials. Getting together is more important than a guy alone. You come up with ideas.
Yeah. So when you guys first met in Rochester, was it Parkinson's Study Group, or is that some kind of precursor for the Parkinson's?
No, when we met in Rochester, we didn't have a name yet. And it was at that meeting that Iris asked for suggestions. What should the name of this group be? And I was the one that came up with Parkinson's Study Group. So let's keep it simple. 3 words, Parkinson's Study Group, no apostrophe S. And it was accepted and adopted by everybody. And that was the beginning.
I'd like to acknowledge that Stan and Ira were probably the 2 most influential people during the first 15 to 20 years of my academic life. Stan was a wonderful clinical mentor, as well as teaching me clinical trials and leadership skills. Ira was an unparalleled mentor in clinical trial development and leadership.
So what was it like working with Ira?
Oh, he was always good. Ira told me that he had ADHD as a child. He was a little wild. But then I began to think in more recent years that maybe it's that led him to be so creative. Of course, I didn't know him as a child, but as a young man in his early days of professional life, he was a good guy to be with. We chat a lot about our lives and about our wishes, our dreams for academia, for clinical research. He was a big in clinical trials, and I must say, to this day, I learned everything I know about clinical trials. I learned from Ira.
You had really very contributory, interesting, and brilliant people working together with you in the field.
Oh, I had a wonderful professional life. I still have many colleagues in the field, United States and abroad. And of course, I developed a movement sort of clinical training program at Columbia. Trained many people, including you, on it's like my own children, you guys, all my trainees. I love that. I still like doing that. It's one of the things I count as my great accomplishments.
One of Dr. Fahn's mantras, which has continued to serve me well throughout my career, is to always learn from your patients. His astute observations, optimistic spirit, and his humility are traits I hope to continue to emulate.
If you're looking back on PSG, what do you think is the most, from your perspective, notable achievement or outcomes that have come out of the PSG?
Well, every drug studied, many of them successful, were eventually put on the market by the FDA and drug companies. So it became useful treatment for people with Parkinson's disease.
Do you have, in terms of kind of a more of a personal aspects of the being with the PSG so long time, do you have like some of the fondest memories about PSG?
Well, of course, it's the people themselves that you meet, you become friendly with, and you relate to, and you get to know them, and they become your friends. That's very enjoyable. Plus the fact that you're doing something good. You want to pioneer and push the boundaries back on Parkinson's disease treatment. You want to find the cause, the cure, and meantime find benefit, clinical benefit, new drugs. And the way they do it was this clinical trial I did that Ira had, that he learned from his days at the University of Rochester, from the medicine department, and applying that to Parkinson's disease is a way to advance research and our understanding and better treatments for Parkinson's. That was a very important approach to the disease, is well recognized everywhere in the world. Scientists in Europe, Asia, they try to emulate that and do clinical trials on their own as well.
After a workshop in 1999, Stan Fahn left me with an indelible memory of warmly encouraging young investigators to follow their Parkinson's disease hypotheses and passion to proposals for small research studies and eventually randomized controlled trials, prompting me to do just that.
You have to be willing to have no bias when you enter the study. You have to be open-minded and see where the data take you. But that's the only way you're going to learn anything about it, how really safe this drug is in the long run. Who knew PSG would develop and blossom into what it is? I mean, the early days was a little trouble maybe, but it was a slow growth at the beginning. But it took off. It was where it is today. A major force in the advances of Parkinson's disease throughout the world, and the emulation of other neurological disease study groups to form and copy us. It's a nice legacy to leave behind.
Yeah, it is.
And it was very enjoyable days of my life.
Yeah.
I consider everybody in the PSG my friend.